It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Okay, so Brian, we've talked about if Roth IRAs are super, super valuable and something that if we're under the income limit, we really want to take advantage of, or even if we're over the income limit, we really want to take advantage of doing that $6,000 or $7,000 IRA contribution, then more Roth is probably better than less Roth. And there's actually another secret planning strategy available to certain folks, and we have just affectionately called this the mega backdoor Roth.
Yeah, Roth IRAs, one of the limitations is that you can only put a few $1,000 in a year. If you're basically, what is it, $6,000?
$6,000, yep, or $7,000 if you're over 50.
That's how much you can put in. It's a decent amount of money, but there is bonus points territory. It's called mega backdoor Roth. When we did our episode on this in the past, talking about mega Roths, we called this the apex predator because you can put large chunks of money into a mega backdoor Roth. But here's the thing. This sounds so exciting, especially if you're in a great paying job and you have plenty of ability to save money. You have to have the right structure to even take advantage of this.
So let's talk a little bit about that structure and what that looks like. So first, what is a mega backdoor Roth? Well, it's the ability to use your 401k to make huge Roth contributions. So not just the $6,000, but we've seen folks who can do $34,000, $35,000, $40,000 of Roth contributions inside of their 401ks
per year
via the mega backdoor Roth. Here are a few things that are required. Number one, and this one is so important, your 401k plan has to actually have an after-tax contribution option. Most of us are aware of the two options that you can salary defer into a 401k. You can only do pre-tax contributions or you can do Roth contributions. A lot of folks don't realize there's actually a third type called after-tax. We actually went to one of our clients' websites and we pulled this so you can see there's a pre-tax option, a Roth option, and an after-tax option. In order to be able to take advantage of this strategy, you have to have after-tax availability in your 401k. Unfortunately, if your employer does not provide that benefit, if that's not an option with your plan, you can't do it. Now, before you get really upset and say, oh, why is my employer an awful person for not making this available? There's some additional testing required on the employer's end to make this available. So most often you see this with really large company plans. It's a little bit less common in smaller, small business type plans.
I do know when I see the ability to do a mega backdoor Roth, that you've got somebody in the plan design side that at least understands what's needed by allowing the after-tax component as well as either in-service distributions or ability to do in-service conversions.
That's right.
I mean, these things are part of the setup, but it means that you probably have an employer that's taking, or at least the advisor or the custodian that set up the plan has really tried to maximize all planning opportunities in your retirement plan. But before we get everybody all worked up and excited about this, though, there are a few downsides that we should cover, though.
Yeah, it's really exciting to be able to do this, but there are some unintended consequences, again, if you approach this not knowing exactly what you're doing. Here's the first one, and maybe the most frustrating one. You could squeeze out your employer free money. If you've been following us for any amount of time, you know how much we love free money, and employer matching, employer contributions are one of the best forms of free money in the entire world. Well, if you're contributing to the after-tax portion of your 401k and you end up filling up what's called your 415 limit, I want to say it's like 58,000, 61,000, somewhere in that, depending on which year you're looking at, you could actually put so much into your 401k that your employer doesn't have any more room to put their money in. So while it's a great benefit, you may not want to do away with your employer's free money.
The other downside on this is we see a lot of the people who do have the decision-making ability to implement these strategies. Usually you're a small business owner, you have good income coming in. You're going to weigh what your tax rate is if you're in the highest tax rate, currently around 37%. Plus, if you live in a high tax state, say like California, where it's 13%, you're going to have to weigh, do I want to put this money into Roth, or do I want to take a current year tax deduction at the 50% discount? Because that's essentially like letting the government fund 50% of your retirement savings. So just because you can doesn't mean you always should. You kind of have to balance out what is the benefit I'm getting here, especially how many years of compounding growth. There's a lot of things in play that you do want to make sure you're checking all the boxes before you implement this strategy.
And then here's sort of the third downside. Not all plans, not all providers are created the same. So this can be administratively difficult. It's not the easiest thing in the world. Remember, you have to have these two pieces. You have to have after-tax contribution availability and then the ability to do in-service distributions of that amount, either to the Roth portion of the 401k or to a Roth IRA. Oftentimes for employers or for the providers, you have to make a phone call every time you want to do that. And you have to be able to speak the language and tell them exactly what you're wanting to do without misappropriating and saying, oh, I want to do a rollover of my 401k and end up distributing pre-tax dollars that you never intended on distributing. So you have to kind of know what you're doing and be willing to jump through the administrative loopholes to make sure that it's done correctly.
It is funny you say this is because we have multiple clients that I feel like every year at the end of the year, especially, we are essentially shepherds.
That's right.
That we have to go and track down and then follow and say, hey, check on, make sure things got to the different pots that they were supposed to. It does require a little more hand-holding than just set it and forget it. And then, along those lines, we once again created another decision matrix that we had Daniel prepare, but walk us through, should you use the Mega Backdoor Roth?
So here's the first question you answer. Have you maxed out your 401k? Have you done the full $20,500 or $27,000 if you're over age 50? The answer is no. Max out your regular contributions first. Again, you'll have a pre-tax option, a Roth option. Do that first. If your answer is yes, are you allowed to make non-Roth after-tax contributions? Again, a lot of folks think that Roth contributions and after-tax are the same. No. They are not. You have to actually have after-tax contributions available. If the answer is no, you don't have access to this strategy. It will not work for you. If the answer is yes, does your plan allow for either in-service distributions or in-service conversions? Meaning, can I put the money into that after-tax bucket and then get it from that bucket into the Roth bucket? Without that second step, all you have is just more tax-deferred money growing, and what you really want is tax-free money growing. So if the answer is no, you can't do that strategy. If the answer is yes, you have to ask another question. Am I under the overall contribution limit? In 2022, it's $61,000 for those under 50, and it's $67,500 for those over 50. So am I over the full contribution limit? If the answer is no, then you can't do the strategy. If the answer is yes, I'm still under, then you can indeed do the Mega Backdoor Roth, and it's something you should investigate. I cannot say this enough, though. This is an advanced, complicated strategy. If you are someone in the place where you're beginning to think about this and you're starting to say, man, I wonder if I should implement this, this is a perfect time to pause and think to yourself, man, maybe I should think about taking the relationship to the next level, because this gets advanced and this gets complicated and there are big implications of this. You might want to have a co-pilot, a professional, help you navigate through these decisions.